Morning. I'm Jon Burcaw. I'm sitting inside my sidecar, and today I'm going to start reading to you the story, The Sidecar Kings, the book I wrote a few years ago about this machine and the one next to it. And about a very special group of people that are associated with it. I invite you to go get your copy and follow along. If you don't have a copy, books are available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, at Schaeffer's Harley-Davidson in Orwigsburg. You can get a copy there. And I'll wait. Ready? Okay. Chapter 1, The Sidecar Kings. This book is dedicated to my mom, the greatest MDA supporter that ever was. Her spirit rides through every page. Mom never saw this book finished. She knew I was writing it. If she were here today, she'd be telling us to wash our hands, don't touch your face, be kind to each other, and help out however you can. So here we go. MDA camp is the best week of the week. MDA camp week is the best week of the year. An MDA camper said that. A bunch of them did. Chapter 1. This is a picture book for older kids. A hazy, warm July sun blazed over Valley MDA camp early on a Wednesday morning. In these parts, a warm morning almost always goes hand in hand with drenching humidity. It was one of those days when a body felt drier in a bathing suit, submerged in a swimming pool, than anywhere else. The heat was the kind of heat that sent air conditioners to the brink of failure and made bad hair the rule rather than the exception. Cabin 22, which is that picture you saw, was the coolest cabin in camp, regardless of how hot the weather was. Set at the end of a row of similar-looking 50s-era bunkhouses, number 22 was shaded by a 25-foot-tall spruce tree. It was the shade and the labored output of the desperate window air conditioner that kept the air cool inside. But this week, the last cabin in the row housed 5 campers who had an air of cool that was uniquely their own. They figured they needed a cool name that befit a cool cabin. So they got together on day 1 of camp and made sure they'd claimed a name fit for coolness. They ate, drank, and slept motorcycles. I know how that is. So they imagined everything they knew to be cool in a name, and the Sidecar Kings gang came to be. At age 12, Connor was the oldest of the bunch. He'd been confined to a powered wheelchair since he was 3. Born with spinal muscular atrophy type 2, Connor was learning to drive a powered wheelchair when most kids were learning to run. Close-cut red hair and full freckled covered cheeks made him the brunt of all the named callers' jokes. Carrot top, tomato head, freckle face, he'd heard them all. The youngest of 3 children, Connor was used to getting teased by his older siblings at home. This year at camp, he couldn't wait to be the top dog in his cabin and be the one doing the teasing for a change. 10-year-old Eddie and 11-year-old Sean both had Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Both walked when they were younger. Both now had wheelchairs for outdoor use and would eventually need them for indoor use as well. Eddie was tall and thin for his age. Sean was short and heavy-set. They were opposites in stature, but were good buddies at camp. These two guys had known each other prior to coming to camp. Even when the gang was together, these two were attached at the hip. Ethan was 9. He shared symptoms of Becker muscular dystrophy, a more benign form of Duchenne. He still walked, but tired easily. Ethan lived, it seemed, to get dirty. His face, and inevitably the front of that day's shirt, was perpetually marked by the most recent meal. He enjoyed the earth, playing in the dirt, sand, and mud, no matter the time of day or the season. He enjoyed the feel of these basic textures between his long, slender fingers. 9 fingernails were filled with dirt. The 10th, his right thumb, sported a very dirty, almost black bandage. Shaggy blonde hair partially covered clear blue eyes that smiled on their own. Even though his physical challenges were gradually slowing him down, he still played in the dirt every chance he could get. Ethan also liked to make people laugh. Life was his stage. Like Connor, 8-year-old TJ, the youngest and newest camper, had spinal muscular atrophy type 2. TJ was an early wheelchair rider too. He came from a town a couple of hours' drive from the camp, and he had trouble separating from his mom and his sister on the first day. He had not been away from them before. They were all the family he had. TJ's mom worked very hard at a grocery store, and when she wasn't home, TJ's 12-year-old sister, Rebecca, took wonderful care of him. She was TJ's arms and legs as he lived through each day. He couldn't imagine being away from her. But the camp counselors were experts at reducing the anxiety of the campers and their families as they parted for this very special week. On the first day of camp, when TJ had discovered the cabin he would be staying in was filled with motorcycle enthusiasts, it was much easier to say goodbye to Mom and Becca. Although similar challenges brought the boys into this place at this time, it was the love of motorcycles in general, and motorcycles, sidecars in particular, which was the glue that held this gang together and set them apart. All that mattered was the joy of the ride, a joy that went beyond all they knew. The talk of the previous evening was all about past sidecar ride the boys had taken. They talked until the wee hours of the morning. TJ did a lot of listening. A tow-headed blonde with a quick wit and infectious smile. TJ had a quiet intelligence about him. Today would be TJ's first ride. Today wasn't quite ready to start yet. Dreams of sidecar riding, boating, swimming, and game playing kept all the boys fast asleep, every boy except one. A ray of sun worked its way through a cabin window inside TJ's eyelids. A small voice echoed in the quiet cabin room. The hum of the hard-working air conditioner was the only other sound. "Hey, Dave, can you roll me?" Counselor Dave, quite used to being roused from sound sleep by this command, squeezed the sleep from his eyes and looked over at TJ's tiny body. "Sure, buddy, be right there." Dave was a local firefighter who took a week of his vacation time each year to be a counselor at Valley. He had been trained by MDA staffers to care for the kids. He, like many other volunteers, returned summer after summer to be with and to help special campers that attended the MDA camp. The kids at camp provided inspiration and lifelong friendship. His firefighting background made him uniquely prepared to handle the special needs of wheelchair-bound children. He embraced, rather than shied away from such challenges. Blessed with almost limitless patience, some said Dave knew something about life that made him unique. His eyes seemed to harbor a profound, unspoken story. The campers loved him. TJ's disease made it impossible for him to do anything without help. He used a powered wheelchair to help him run. At home, with the help of his sister and mom, He used a machine at night to help him breathe, and he had a special pump to help him eat. During camp, he needed Dave to help roll him from one side to the other in his bed. And right now, the sun was keeping TJ from returning to sleep. "Dave, are you awake? The sun's shining in my eyes. Can you roll me on my other side?" Dave worked his way out of his own covers, yawned, and replied with a smile, "Sure, pal, I'm up now and on my way." Dave pulled the covers from TJ and gently rolled him from one side to the other. He positioned TJ's legs, arms, and head on the pillow just the way TJ had asked. During camp, Dave was TJ's arms and legs. "Hey, Dave, what day is it?" TJ suddenly blurted out. "Shh, TJ, keep it down. You'll wake up the other boys," whispered Dave. "It's Wednesday. You know what day it is. You guys were up talking about today until 2 a.m. "Wednesday," TJ echoed. "Sidecar ride, Dave. Dave, I can't wait. My first sidecar ride will be today." "Hold on there, buddy. It's 6 a.m., and you can't be ready to go yet. Get some shut-eye so you can get ready to go later. Now go back to sleep." "Okay, Dave, I'll close my eyes, but I'm not going to sleep." Just as David feared, the other campers in the cabin began stirring. "Boys, it's 6 a.m. You didn't get to sleep until 2 a.m. You have to be tired," Dave implored. "Please go back to sleep." While Dave knew sleep at camp was mostly hopeless, he wanted to make sure his guys got at least some rest. "We are the Sidecar Kings," a sleepy Ethan declared from the other side of the room. "We don't need no stinking sleep." Dave could barely contain a laughing outburst, but managed to remain stern. "Just one more hour, guys, please. I need my beauty sleep," Dave said. "Ha! That would make you the Sidecar Queen," Connor teased. "Back to sleep, smart guy." Dave smiled, and they all got resettled for a snooze. After what seemed like a few moments, Dave's alarm sounded. His radio was tuned to a local music station. As the radio came on, the announcer was reading the weather forecast. "Your rock weather forecast is brought to you by Harley-Davidson motorcycles. Ride to live, live to ride. It's going to be another scorcher day in the valley. It'll be hazy, warm, and humid with afternoon highs in the mid-90s. Just like yesterday, and just like through the rest of the summer, there's a chance of thunderstorms throughout the day. If a storm is headed your way, seek shelter, as the storms would contain heavy, drenching rain, gusting winds, hail, and frequent lightning." Now here's the new one from Johnny and the Bees. I know those guys. Dave turned off the alarm and thought about the mutiny he would have on his hands if the boys would be stuck inside all afternoon. "Please, God, don't let it rain on these guys today," Dave said to himself. TJ had stopped listening after he heard "Ride to live, live to ride." His mind raced into the wind as he remembered all he had heard the night before. After 3 more slaps on the snooze bar and near constant whispering in the cabin, Dave figured any more sleep would be fruitless. So he finally dragged himself out of bed and made for the bathroom to get his morning started. This ends Chapter 1.